What's up, humans? I'm Human Jones with Union of Human. We're joined by Jonathan Read today, the Wiggins, Houston, Texas, and we're at the Blaffer Art Museum, UOH, their beautiful campus up here in John's studio. Did I say that right? The Blaffer?
Right. No, we're in just the Fine Art Building,
Okay,
which is the Blafford is in. So
Uh-huh.
we're technically we might be, but yeah, we're in the University of Houston.
Awesome. And we're going to talk about your new EP, Waterworld.
Cool.
Right on. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Yeah, I put out a record in 2016 that was actually finished, I think, in like 2014, and then I like switched it around at the last minute. I kind of abandoned it and resurrected it, but it was still kind of like, it was a mix of new and old songs, and I think Waterworld was the Greater Minds one, and I wanted to do one like that was all new, because the Greater Minds one had like 6 new songs and then like 3 covers and then one really old song just kind of like sitting, and I kind of like that because I like that kind of like hodgepodge. I get it, like Waiting for the Sun, The Doors, where they like recorded, they got half the record got scrapped and they had to like rush to find songs, or like there's a few records that are like that are just like songs sitting around, it's like brand new and very old, and like I kind of like that, but then I want to do something that was all fresh, and that's what Waterworld is. And yeah, it started, I was like doing stuff for independent study here with Albignati Mesa, the sound artist guy that runs the iPad program, and I just did it as an independent study, so that's where like the songs came out of that.
Okay.
That first, but that was in like January, and I did like 3 songs, and I did 3 after that over the summer, and it should have been more, and it's just getting to that state of writing in general. Like I just didn't, with being in school, it was really kind of just too ambitious. Like the whole thing was like, and releasing it,
I bet, yeah.
when I did was really stupid. It was like, I'm about to graduate.
You couldn't have been more busy?
Yeah, it was like,
Couldn't
then I
have
have
been
to
busier.
do this, and I really couldn't promote it properly, and I think, yeah, I don't know. I just didn't have anything booked, I guess, in general. So outside of the record release show, that was the only plan that I had, was that. And but I've been around a really, really long time, so I think the spell of me has like,
Yeah.
no one cares. Or few people do. I mean, I know it's a niche, so which is cool because there's always, it's more consistent now. So
Yeah, I started Union of Human in like 03, 04, I think. It's been off and on, up and down, but you are at a short list of bands that were there at the beginning of my music blog and are still there.
yeah.
It might just be 1 or 2, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the advantage. I mean, right now I really do miss, not miss, but like I would kind of like to be in a band at times. But then I think that not being in a band is like probably pretty much why it's so the longevity is possible. Is you could take someone, I don't have to tell anyone I'm going on, doing something, or like. Sure. Band practice is always like just I'm the only one that needs to decide when that is, and yeah. So I think that's a big part of it. But at the same time, it's like I have to do. I mean, it's good, working with a label because Jessica does what she does, and so that's good to have at least something delegated, or not delegated, but something taken care of. That I just can hand off, which is like. Really cool, and so that's always good to have some kind of communal sense of like someone like to go over the material as well. I mean, I have my friends, but then someone that's actually investing in it to be able to listen to it and be like, yeah, okay, yes, I will do this, and but aside from that, just the day-to-day life of the band, it does get it's hard. I mean, just like shows, I have to. I'm the only one in the band, so it's like, most of the time with 3 people, you can get like a few people to come, which each member, but over time, it's like I can't get my same friends to come, and yeah, so it's hard.
Sure.
But is that anything? I think we went way off for your
No,
question.
that's cool.
But yeah, so I mean, basically, this was like I really wanted to do. It's not really a concept album, but it's definitely recorded in a very short period of time, from like January of 17 to like October, I think. And there's a lot that it was unfinished. I think it was going to be 8 or 9, but I just couldn't finish the vocals for stuff, and I gave myself a deadline. It has to be done at this time, and so I thought an EP. I generally like that anyway. Like, I mean, that's been, I think, more successful than full lengths in some ways, because they're. I don't invest as much in them. I mean, doing 6 songs versus doing 12 or 10, that's quite a colossal thing for one person, and it's like.
Right.
Yeah.
What's up with the title, Water World?
I think it's because the song is a lot of it's about just kind of just messing stuff up, really sabotaging yourself, and and just also it's a colossal way. In Waterworld, the film is like, it's one of my favorite kind of like B movie, not B movies. It's definitely an A movie, but bad movie. It's I just like the whole concept of it, and it's also kind of the survival, in this water world, and kind of like survival in your own relationships, and like there's always that quote from Kurt Vonnegut. Not that this is my album has anything to do with pornography, but like pornography and science fiction are about survival in unsurvivable situation. And kind of Waterworld's definitely about that, but definitely about within love and stuff like that too, of just like surviving this just vast, just peril, and just being able to navigate any kind of way through that. And I mean, I still get a little scared in the movie at times, the opening scene, the water. And I've never been out in the ocean where you couldn't see land either, so I think that really bothered me.
Yeah, screw that, man.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I'm a big movie person, and I think there's been a lot of movie references in records anyway, and like, I just wanted to do something. And the song, I just titled it that, and yeah. So.
And you were saying...
Just went with it.
Is there a type of a theme to Waterworld? You were saying like...
I think it was just, it's contemporary, of like not... I think not really letting the songs gestate so much. I mean, because it was like... I think I did... In 2014, I got an acoustic guitar, and I just like, I wrote and like all these little fragments. And then like in 2015, I was like on another, like an art project for like a year, so I just didn't do anything. I took like a year off, and when I came back, I went back to all those fragments and just kind of like, it was cool. I mean, it was just like having this big arsenal of unfinished stuff just to grab from. And I think that's, I don't know if I mean, I guess it was, where I feel like a lot of records have stretched very long periods of time. I mean, because like the vinyl, the Greatest Apes was like, I mean, some of the songs that I ended up on it, they weren't the recordings from 2006, but I definitely like wrote them like 5 or 6 years before the record was finished.
I see, yeah.
And like, so but this one was very much like, I mean, there was an old song I wrote, like I wrote when I was in high school on it, the very last song, but like, it was recorded in 2017. Everything was like 2017. And
what's that song called? Another Day or something?
Yeah. That's from. I wrote that when I was in high school. And I that was just to replace a song that I was working on. I couldn't finish in time, but I wanted something that ended in a mood, because I was kind of thinking. I mean, this was like possibly the last record, and I mean, it could be, but. I kind of scrapped that as announcing it as the last record, but I mean, it's been a long project, so any record could be the last, any show could be the last show at this point. So but yeah, no. If but I was kind of gonna make it longer, more epic. But then I decided it was not. I had too much fun with it, and I just didn't want to make it the last declarative. Put myself in that position of.
Hmm. How long was the writing and recording process?
Yeah, like some of the songs I wrote in 2016. Some of them, yeah, in the the 90s, or one at least. But like, not too long. I mean, I guess it was stuff I was working on in 2014, just fragments, musical fragments, not really having lyrics. And then like, I think the song RX or Prescription, whatever that symbol is, that one is like, I wrote a little progression, and then like, I think I had a show in 2000. I think it was around 2017 or 16, and I was like, I have to finish the song today, and like I was just like, just finish it that day, just to perform that night. So there was a more of an immediacy to this one in general, and like, cause yeah, the first song Dreamland, that song was probably written in. I mean, I probably like played just the little 2 chords, and then like a day later, it was totally written.
I like that. I like that idea. It's fun of let's just get these songs out there, know.
Yeah, and yeah, first takes, tons of first takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that immediacy. I mean, that's definitely what is. I don't know. I mean, there's a certain absence of that.
It's kind of more live,
Yeah.
It's like it's not so
Warts and all.
polished or
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was mastered by Richard Dunham?
Yeah, he's Twisted Wires. He's in Indian Jewelry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he plays bass and guitar. He's on that label, Italians Do It Better, and with like, what's that? Somehow he was at the Twin Peaks filming for the new one. So that was really interesting. He's a really interesting guy, really talented, and he does it way less than he should charge me. So, considering his resume at this point, he is an international dude, as in all of Indian jewelry, very renowned in that scene for sure. And no, it's good to have. I mean, he's really good. I think he knows what I'm trying to do, but I really, I hear the difference too, and because I record on GarageBand, so it's always a little. It is what it is, but he definitely takes it to that next level.
Are they still performing and doing stuff?
Yeah, I played. They're in. They're always changing names.
Is that right?
So, but they were. I played with them at. Yeah. It was Studded 2. They became the Studded Left, and then now the Studded 2, and then there are the Coxcombs, and they had a bunch, but. Indian Jewelry is definitely no more. That's their name. But it's all the same people, same. They will play songs from that catalog, and so.
Yeah, I was curious. They were one of those bands that were on my music blog way back in the day when I started it.
Yeah.
Cool. And was there anything specifically you wanted to do differently on Waterworld from your previous albums? You said you wanted to write it all in one period of time, or?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit more mellow too. It's more like I don't know. I mean, because I really being here, working, I was listening to a lot of YouTube and just going through like wormhole after wormhole of like eras of music, 90s, 80s, all this stuff, and like. And one thing I was kind of learning about myself is like really I don't. There's definitely a time I studied like No Wave and Velvet Underground, and, like Jesus and Mary, all this like stuff that I'm usually associated with, but like it's not. I think those people do the same kind of deconstruction of pop. I think, but I think really like. I mean, even when I was a little too old to be listening to like really top 40 stuff. My friends had all moved on to Metallica and like Guns N' Roses, and I was still into like Madonna and like Finding Cannibals and like really poppy stuff. And when I should have known better, but I really do generally like that. I don't know if it's just the relatability of it, the immediacy of a good hit, a good pop hit. I think that's another, quality. It sounds like it was like, bam, just comes out of nowhere. And so, I mean, I was really like listening to a lot of like, just a lot of pop, a lot of girl pop, and just stuff that, really going back to like music that I loved before I played music. I think that gets in the way a lot because you start to play music and you start to create these rules of what music is and what it isn't, and then all the time forgetting you at one point were happy with the same music everyone else was happy with.
Yeah.
But at some point you become very, very, narrow, and like I only listen to stuff from, which is a very dangerous mindset to get into. And I think creatively it's really bad because you just discount so much of your foundation of stuff. So,
Right.
So I think that was the big thing about Waterworld is like letting, and I don't know if it really comes out because I think there's definitely songs that, like, I think when I did Rat Boy, I was really like, I was thinking about Flipper. So, so that's definitely not in that category. But also in that song, I was really thinking about, and the melody is really lifted from, because I originally was like doing it more of a rap, kind of like at the end, more of like rhythmic vocals, but then I kind of totally lifted the Lolita theme, and like, and it's just kind of appropriate, and I don't know, I'm not sure about the content of the song, but it's just like the song is very desperate, and that movie, the character's very desperate, and it just kind of fit in a weird kind of way, and like, it's one of my favorite little pieces of music in some ways, and like, I sampled it a long time ago, and that was kind of cool. But then I kind of got out of that style of writing, and but I always wanted to do something with it because it's just this great little piece of music, and I was able to kind of like, write kind of appropriating stuff, like not sampling it, but just kind of like tearing it apart and putting it back together, kind of style of writing. But definitely from more of a pop source. I think
Gotcha.
The whole record
Yeah.
is because I guess. Sorry, I'm thinking ahead with the questions. Sorry.
That's all good.
We'll go into it when.
Sure. And how'd you come up with that title, Rat Boy?
Oh, that's from. Well, I mean, the song is very self-loathing, and it was how I was thinking of myself, in that period of my life. Really high anxiety and like, but there's a terrible. That's the name of a movie as well. It's like
Okay.
it's a Sandra Locke movie. That's Clint Eastwood's wife at the time.
Okay, I didn't know.
She was like, she's in a couple of the Dirty Harry blonde women, and she directed this movie called Rat Boy. It was like a direct-to-video movie. It came out in the late '80s, and it's just terrible. But I remember my friend growing up. We used to call him, we'd bully each other, and like he was Rat Boy because he kind of resembled the
Gotcha.
the thing. But so it was something I always like stuck with me. I call my dog that sometimes, and like, but definitely the rat. I think the song was called Rat at first, but then I like added that because I think it was, I don't know, just. Yeah, I wanted to be honest to my attraction to the word rat is more as in Rat Boy than the animal. So.
Cool. You want to tell us about Dreamland?
Yeah, with Dreamland, that is that's the title comes from the nuclear testing site, I guess, and but yeah, it's about I guess that's just about like being an artist in a lot of ways, and like the discouragement of it. And just not, like, because I don't really fit into this very much. And like, continually working in it, but continually discouraged. And I guess the nuclear testing site is kind of this really unstable area that's always kind of bombarded. And it's kind of how you feel as an artist. Like, there's always a threat of, I mean, it's avant-garde because you get shot. That's what the avant-garde means, so it's like, but Dreamland's this testing zone of weapons, and it's just kind of this constant onslaught of just like rejection, of just things not working out, timing not working out, of this and that, of funding, support, all that stuff. And but enduring at the same time, like nevertheless. But so that song was written very quick, really quick, just kind of like just yeah. So that was one of those 15, 20-minute songs, which I wish was.
Was that the first song you wrote for the EP, or
No, it was
why
the
did you
very
choose,
last.
And why did you choose that to be the first song?
I think just because of the spontaneity of it. It was because it was so like, bam, I needed an opener. I didn't have an opener. This is the opener. It's probably the fastest song on the record. Probably the most upbeat, which is always, I guess, a good way to start a record. Although I don't really know if that's, I don't know. I'm trying to think back of records I like. I guess, yeah.
Sure. You mind if we play that track?
Yeah. Go
Right on. Dreamland, first song.
Bam!
Right on. That was Dreamland, the first track off Waterworld. When did you get started with the Wiggins, and how did that all come about?
It started in Kent when I was finishing my undergrad, and I was in a band called Ikaluga. It was like two other guys, and we came out of some other band, and like the band split into two. And Ikaluga, the drummer wanted to form this band. He recruited me and the bass player, and like he wanted to use drum machines, and I always wanted to use drum machines because like I was really like I really liked hip hop when it first came out. I liked the syntheticness of the drums, and like I really like when I started playing guitar. I took guitar lessons at a music store, and I was like, my friends would be like, talk about drum machines, and usually in a negative sense, like especially rock and roll friends, like, oh, they use drum machines, like screw that, and I didn't know what a drum machine was, and I pictured like little arms that you put on drums, and it'd be like bam, bam.
Yeah.
and you had like a sequencer, and I'm sure you can probably do that. But I asked the guy at the guitar store because I didn't see anything like that, and like he was like, oh yeah, it's just this little box, and you like hit the button, it's like boom, boom, and it was just like, oh my god. And that was like really early on. I didn't wanting to work with it, but then I was in a band then, and then I joined like a punk band, and I was in really like Luddite like scene in general. It was very.
And I'm sorry, was this in Houston area?
This is in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
And like yes, it was really like purist, and there was a few people messing around with drum machines, but I was like really into that. And then this guy wanted to form a band with drum machines that he could really program because he was a drummer, and he really got it.
There
It's
you
like
go.
Phil Collins, and and it was just, and it was so. I don't know. We had a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun. We recorded a record probably 6 months after forming. It was the only record we got to do because we weren't around very long. But like when that band disbanded, just because I think one of the guys graduated, he was like, I just can't focus on this anymore. And like he ended up being in the Wiggins for a while. When I formed it, and but I got a drum machine like right away, and it was right at the end of the 20th century, like the last like December 29th or just December 30th or something. I had this acoustic electric guitar, and I like brought it in, traded for a drum machine, and I still use the same drum machine. I have like 5 of them now. I just fill them up. And that was in 2000, and then I was like, it took a long time to figure out how to play live, but definitely recording like right away. Like, and I recorded an album probably within a year of getting that EP, and then just eventually figured out how to play live. That was mainly when I came down here, and I think a lot of it had to do. I got a lot of help through from Indian Jewelry because I knew Tex from back in Kent, and like just having a base of bands already down here, and getting onto a lot of shows, knowing where to play and stuff like that, and then like getting eventually comfortable playing live because it took a long time. It's not having a band live. I mean, it really not having someone to play off of it. It could be terrible when things are going wrong, and also just going to a show and like by myself because I play on a weeknight. My girlfriend can't go; she has to go to work, and like show up, and it's like if I don't know the other bands, it's very lonely and like So it took a long time, to get going, I think, just because of that, like how to play live, not having anyone to play with and figure out how to do it. And so that was 2000 it started.
And the band prior back in Ohio, what was that band called?
Igluga.
Okay, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
What was the album you guys wrote?
I think it's self-titled.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Bandcamp. It was very kind of more Devo-y than the Wiggins was, which I think the Wiggins is more like, at the time I was listening to La Tigra and Bikini Kill and Jesus and Mary Chain, Love and Rocket, sorry. Yeah, those are and a lot of hip hop too, and I was like really trying to get my sound at that point, especially working with Igluga and with those guys really jumping a lot of hurdles as far as like synthetic mixed with analog sound. That's like that was the real goal, I think. It was really to like make rock or punk that was like as relevant as hip hop, I guess, as far as equipment, like not like turning your nose up to a drum machine because it's used in rap or because it's not organic, and not that I have anything against drummers, but it's just like, it has a sound, and I didn't know about Big Black, or anything at that point, or like much about bands that actually used drum machines back then. And it seems like it's kind of caught on a little bit with like Sleigh Bells and a few other bands that exist now, but it still seems, it's hard. There is a certain element of people think it is a gimmick thing, but it's really like, no, it's not. The
music's good. I follow several artists that use drum machines.
Yeah. No, and it's a whole different mindset. It's just I like it. I just like the intimacy of really getting in that headspace of headphones on, guitar, drum machine, all that stuff, and it's just like
It's popular in music for people to repeat what they've heard other people say, and they
Yeah.
heard somebody say, "Oh, that's not real drum," or knocked it in some way, and so
Yeah.
then some young kid's gonna say, "Oh, fuck drum machines," whatever. But
Yeah,
really,
so a kid asked me. I remember I opened for the Wild Moccasins like years ago. And like some kid asked me, he's like, "Did you program that stuff, or did you buy a drum machine that was on it?" I was like, "No, man, I made all of that." Like, he's like, okay, cool. I just thought you found. I was like, would that be worse?
he
though?
thought you
That would
found
be
the
cool
beats
too.
already,
Like, that
or-
would be badass if I
Uh-huh.
wrote all these songs around. My co-writer was this unknown, person. Like, that would be even more conceptually cool. Because at one point I really did. I wanted to kind of franchise the Wiggins. Like, I wanted to get. I was like stockpiling drum machines, like program them, like with like maybe 4 or 5 songs, ship them out to people. They have a guitar. They have room to write their own songs. They have to learn the 4, and then kind of franchise the Wiggins.
that'd be fun.
Like the way like the Temptations, or I think like bands like that. There's like regional versions of it. It was I could have like a female Wiggins.
That would be
all
cool.
sorts of different.
Yeah, you'd have to specify the Chicago Wiggins.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that'd
Yeah,
be
just
neat.
whoever applies, you get it, And I guess if there was 2 in one region, they'd have to send in audition tapes. And well, maybe it used to be 2. They could tag team.
That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about your songwriting processes.
Well, yeah, it ranges from being pretty much like anyone. I play guitar. So I strum on chords, come up with a melody. But also with the drum machine, I could start from that end to come up with the beat, then come up with the bass line. So, but usually, I've been writing a lot in my head lately, and letting a lot of the process happen just through thought, and then coming to it. And I've been getting better at being able to think of stuff and being able to actually execute it, at least to my satisfaction. Maybe not exactly how but then what is the ideal and what is the real, and But yeah. So lately I've been I like I don't know. I like sometimes like organic sounds like that occur like air conditioners and stuff like that. Like I like going to really crowded restaurants and like just hearing the noise of it. And a lot of times that's a really good way for me to write. Just like the chatter, and then you hear this machines going, and then it's kind of rhythmic, and then I just start.
That's
I usually just hear
interesting. Yeah.
melodies, and a few songs I've done that way, and it's been working like kind of cool, and they just kind of come out of thin air, and then or just out of this organic kind of mix. Especially with the rhythms that I use, they're very, kind of industrial and
Right.
techno. I think there's a limitation to my drum machine where it's kind of like now when I hear something like it, because they can only go like boom, boom, like I instantly start to be like, oh, that's a good beat. So yeah. But yeah, sometimes they're fans or something like that in a restaurant. And I
That's
just hear it with
interesting.
the
That's cool.
chatter.
Yeah. I always love to ask people about their songwriting processes, because you always pick something up, and
Yeah.
it's definitely not easy to hear shit in your head and then
Yeah.
get it out there the way. It's much more easy to settle for what you can do.
Yeah. No. That's one thing about kind of working by yourself, is that you definitely start to know what you're capable of, and
I can see that starting.
so
yeah,
you start to
definitely.
think that way and think like a machine.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about your recording process.
This is pretty simple. I used to use 4-track tapes. I think the last record I did that with was The Greatest Apes. And then, Greatest Apes. And then as soon as I got like a Mac, I was like, yeah, this is where it's at. And I think it's a really good thing about having, being so confined for so long is like a really good cool thing, as an artist. Like 4 tracks, I have to do this, and this in 4 tracks, and then like I felt like I really graduated to it when I got it. I was like ready, to have unlimited tracks. I was like, I'm not gonna just throw down unlimited tracks. Now I know how to self-edit and not be too indulgent. So it was a really nice transition to digital. And I mean, I know friends of mine that are like re-recording records on tape and all this stuff like that, but and it's just, yeah, I just, the convenience of it and being able to record at home is like
Shit, yeah.
I mean, that's really my favorite part about any of this, is just being, in my studio, writing, recording, and that's where the passion from this comes from. Because, like, as far as, like, I mean, like, yeah, playing out is, I mean, the older I get, the more I just, it gets harder, for sure. And, like, it just gets harder.
No,
and,
I get it.
Yeah. And in music in general, and just, it's harder. You get more aware of it, and like what, I don't know. It's a strange, yeah. Yeah, it just gets harder,
Certainly.
Yeah. So I don't know where I kind of trailed off.
Sure. That 63 Guild that you got,
Oh yeah.
is
yeah.
that on the record?
Oh man, I don't know. I think it is. I think it's on Another Day. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But I wasn't really. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I was recording a lot with that, but I think a lot of the stuff didn't make it. Yeah, no, that was like my dad. He wanted to play, and he went to this guitar store in San Francisco. They had 2 electrics, and that was one. And the other one was a Fender Mustang, 1965 Dakota Red. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I really was like trying to get him to get that, because he's like, I'm probably gonna quit, and you'll end up with it. I was like, I know, so get this one, because this is the one I want. And like, but I didn't know, and it was like one of those things. It's like, yeah, it was kind of neat, because it was like, I didn't know how much until I started playing the Guild, that it's like, wow, this is really.
Yeah, I would have went with the Guild. That's more my style.
Yeah, but now it's like I've been playing the Mustang a lot lately, because I need to restring the Guild really bad, and I'm just kind of afraid, and it's so delicate.
Yeah.
So I've seen those necks, not on Guilds but on Gibsons, like snap.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I've had that happen.
yeah.
What other kind of equipment are you working with?
I had a Farfisa for a long time. I sold that recently because I wasn't really using it. I got a little Casio keyboard, Yamaha. I don't know if it's like this big. It's a lot more fun. It's always out. It's I might come up with a set that I just use that for drums and play guitar with it. I'm trying to figure out new ways to play out live, because I really don't like always doing the same thing at all, especially at this point, because it's like I mean, the people that like what I do, I mean, they're either going to have to tolerate it or no. But I mean, I like being able to kind of like approach each show a little bit differently.
Sure.
Sometimes. Just as an artist, I can't, I don't know. I mean, show up, because I feel like the last show I did, if I probably played with just a guitar, it probably would have been better. And I don't always like the volume. I think I've gotten a little bit better bringing that down a little bit. I definitely don't always like the volume. I really like, it was after I had like a lot of back issues, and it was after like my second back surgery. Like, I was really doped up, and like I love the Coen brothers, and like Ewan Davis just came out, Inside Ewan Davis, and like I saw that, and I remember being like nodding out, and I was like going in and out of the screen. It was just terrible, like medicine head, and like but I was really like, after I saw that, really I was like, I have to think about approaching a song that way, just the folk way. I really like. I mean, for one, it was like it seemed so nice to be able to tour with this light little thing is, I remember like a few years before that going to Germany and like, I lugging around this bag of cables and a drum machine, a guitar, and like having to arrange equipment to be at wherever I was going, and just like it's really hard and
Yeah.
not I was really doing it by myself, and I did have really good contacts, fortunately, just from knowing people over the years, but like still it's hard, but just I think it probably messed my back up a lot doing stuff like that. But I think that like playing with just the guitar and like approaching a song that way and spent a long time like really not doing shows that way at all. I mean, like, and I don't know how people really responded to it. It was difficult, especially with an acoustic guitar with a mic on it. I mean, like playing at Walters like that, like coming from the way I used to do it, really like screaming, and like having to get out of the comfort zone, was really interesting to me. And also playing with out of pick, playing with my right hand more, because I mean there was times, especially with, I think once I kind of increased the volume, my guitar playing I started listening to a lot more blues and stuff, and like. But before that, when I was still in Ohio, especially when I had a band with the Wiggins, like some of these recordings, I mean, my guitar playing is real dull. I mean, just like jan 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 jan, where like playing with just a guitar, you can't do that, and so you start to have to do these things, and like, but then you just, it's also just such a different way of thinking of a song in general, and also just figuring out percussion with your rhythm playing, and how at times too just with playing with just a guitar, how rhythmic it can really be, and sometimes I really think with slaps and pops, it feels like the drum machine's there, so like I felt it was almost kind of like a Luke Skywalker kind of like use the force, just let everything go, and not even
Sure.
I don't know. I was joking with some friends like last weekend about just showing up to shows and just without even a guitar, just not even thinking about it. Just go up there and see if you can entertain. Because I remember I worked with this label in Miami, Needless Records, and like Adam. I was playing with the Jacuzzi Boys, which is a band. I mean, I really like. I mean, they're so good. They're they're really good, really good band. And like, I was definitely an oddity, and like, Adam was touring with another band, and he saw me on a night that everything just really lined up. It was like these magical performances, and like, I guess he just thought it was like that all the time, and so he like signed me on the spot, and flew me to Miami. I had a list of equipment. It didn't quite turn out, and eventually I was just on stage with a full crowd, full house, and it was like nothing's working, and I'm just like, that was a real big point, because there was a time before that I would have had like a complete meltdown, but at that point I was like, okay, like, and I just ended up like singing over the drum machine. It ended up being like one of my favorite shows.
Oh wow!
And like it was just like getting over that kind of like, I don't, because sometimes I practice for like the last show I did. I practiced like, I have a lot of time right now, so I was just practicing, and like 2 different sets, alternate sets, encores, like if this works, then this works, all this stuff. And then I go there and it's like nothing's lined up, and like so, but I got through it. It was definitely probably the more aggressive shows I've done in a long time, but it's not what I wanted to do at all. But you have that.
All right. Back to Waterworld. Who was singing backup on "Let Me Down"?
Oh, that's all me.
That's all you?
Yeah, no, I think Andrea, like, because that song's about our dog. It really is about our dog.
Right.
Because that was like one of those things of like new methods of songwriting, with like just finding different topics. Because you can't be a pissed off teenager forever, obviously, when you're in your 40s, and like, but like it was like something. It was like one of those things. It was like I had the music, I had half the lyrics written, and she was. I think going to work that day, and I was like, I'm gonna have this done at the end of the day, and like played it for her, and she was like, oh my God, that's you. You know, she thought I had someone over for a minute doing it, but no, it's all.
Okay.
It's just, I think I was just back from the mic at the right distance. But I was listening to it after you asked me that because I was like, I could see it does sound different. But yeah. No, I was trying to definitely on this record too, like, trying to push the vocal range as much as I could because I haven't smoked cigarettes for a very long time now, so I think my pipes are really getting
That's good, man.
getting good.
Heck yeah. And on the video for Let Me Down, where did you find that professionally trained Hollywood movie dog?
At a rescue. He was abandoned. And his name's Monkey. He's looks like a terrier, but he's mostly a Chihuahua.
Huh.
He is my best friend.
Sure.
But yeah, he that was for a class here, a narrative art class, and it was like that week's assignment. And I was like, at that point, I think I was done with my show, and I was like, man, if I'm doing anything at this point, if I have to make a movie, it has to be for something. And I really like. I don't hate videos, but I really hate what videos have become, and like I hate what MTV has become, and I guess they show videos again, so that's good. But like, I just it's just that whole thing of like I'm in a band, I have to have this certain type of sense of humor, and like I'm poking fun at this, I'm doing that, and looking cool. I wanted to make like the most unsexy video, like. Possible, and also going directly with the content of the song, which that was part of the challenge of the assignment too, of mixing two different a narrative that doesn't necessarily go with the images, but that one did. But the narrative doesn't sound like it's about a dog. It sounds like it's a rejected singing to an ex or something like that. But it's really supposed to be the dog's point of view of singing to the owner that abandoned them, of kind of like fuck you, I'm getting fine, and like. But it was like something, I was working on this big project. I was listening to a lot of Howard Stern, and he was interviewing Hall & Oates, and they were talking about Maneater. And like, the song's about New York City. And, I never thought about it, but I always assumed it was a woman, and like, so that was like a big, I wasn't thinking about, every song was so autobiographical that I worked on, or it was about a movie, or about a dream, or something like that. But it was like, you kind of opened up this new content of maybe writing about things, but just making them, all it has to be is a pop song, and just like guising it in a pop song, you can kind of like just look for new content, I don't know.
That must be why I like that video so much, because with all my projects, I definitely try to go against the grain, just like this interview. Like, it's not going to be like, I'm not going to use like an interviewer's voice and so John, blah, 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 and like I like to do things, that are kind of not as everybody else would expect,
Yeah.
But I like that video.
Yeah, no, I was happy with it. No, and the class really liked it. So that's why I put it on, because I was like, I didn't know, and then everyone was like, yeah, cool. So I was like, all right. But I didn't want to do I don't know. I'm going to try to do a stop motion thing for something. Maybe I think Rap Boy, while I still have this space, I want to try to make some video for that.
So you trained Monkey to be a Hollywood
music
video dog.
Smart. They trained him. But he was terrible. And I mean, he was like just fighting me at every turn. I mean, usually in the morning he's not that bad, but it was 2 days of shooting.
You're trying to film it, and like
I had to drive him, to one location that was like, a block away. He's like, no, I'm not doing it. And I mean, he wouldn't look at me, and just like, and then I had to like, I don't know. He's just terrible. He's really like,
that's funny, man.
Yeah, he's.
He's no Lassie, huh? He's not going to put up with that shit.
No, he knew something was going on. He didn't like. I don't think he likes iPhones in general. Like. And I was headed up in his face, and like, so he's not happy.
That's too funny. All right, let's play that video. Let Me Down.
Trying to find my bones, and I wonder
And we're back. How'd you like it, folks?
Monkey was the star
Yep.
of that video.
Pretty much every shot. And there was also a sculpture garden in that, which is like around the corner from me, which is kind of, I don't know anything about it, but I would like, if they see this video,
Yeah,
I
there's
would
some cool shots in that video.
Yeah, I would like them to consider me to put some of this stuff in the garden.
Are there any more music videos on the horizon?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to do some stop motion. I think for Rat Boy or I think something for that. Something I
Cool.
could be more fun with and a little bit more abrasive.
Good
you
deal.
know.
Right on. How was that last Walters show?
That was really fun, and I was really, really happy to be included in that because there's definitely something that was a really supportive, institution to me. Going back to the old one, moving here and just to be included on that and I mean, Zach and John, and that whole family there. Those are really good. It's going to be hard. I mean, I remember that was my first response of that. I mean, not to be too, self-centered. Obviously I feel bad for them having to close it. But in some ways I felt, it seemed like it was he was happy about it in some ways. But, or just kind of like,
Sure.
I know how that is.
Right.
So
I mean, it's not an easy thing.
Yeah. And
running that venue.
But at the same time, I was like, I'm fucked. I mean, because it's just like I don't know, because that was like that was like a good. Those gigs, even some of them, I think most of the time I get some money of some sort or something, and like, but it's also I was able to get to an audience I wouldn't normally get to, and like. I get to play with bands that are probably out of my league, or like much that I wouldn't get to play with. I won't get to play with, because like I don't know if White Oak even. I think they're like pulling back on local openers and like I don't know. I don't know. I mean, after the last Spruce Goose show, I don't know if they're gonna really want me back. I was not having a fun night. But it was just one of those things. I kind of, I don't know. I mean, because that was one of the reasons I was like really trying to, I'm going to miss Walters quite a bit. And I was really glad to play that show. And it was like really like, I felt like, a really good moment of it was one of those things like doing a project like this for so long. It's like, why am I doing this? And I mean, I like the recording aspect of it. I like that. But, like, it's nice to be able to engage an audience at times. And I don't know, some of those people may have hated what I was doing. It just seemed like it was going well. But, like, it was just nice to be able to be involved in something like that. Because I think of, being around so long, I think a lot of times, like, my influence or whatever you want to call it, my role in this community, it does kind of diminish, because it's like I can't be in my early 30s, late 20s again. I can't, my life changed so much, I mean, since then, and like, I don't, music's changed so much since then too. I mean, I was very much a product, I think, of that time as well. But so it's hard to be accepted or to be remembered or included. I mean, in as the stuff happens, to kind of. I mean, the important thing is not to get too frustrated with that. Sure. But it is frustrating. But it was really nice to be part of that. That epilogue of Walters, to be like because it was definitely, I felt like. I mean, it was definitely very helpful to me as an artist. I mean, from the old Walters to the new. I mean, I played with Ariel Pink at Walters, and like, who else? Like Glass Candy, all this stuff. These, incredible bands, and just to be able, and to be treated like that too. It wasn't some pay-to-play thing. It's like you're, an artist.
Right.
You're on this thing,
right.
and just like, and. Walters, like, they let me do a record release show at a time when, like, they probably lost money on the event at times, stuff I did, but they wanted to support what I did.
That's cool, and that's unheard of,
yeah.
for people to, actually appreciate local bands more than they do the almighty dollar, whatever the hell's going to sell. And just, I thought that was appropriate. I'm sure they gave you a call up at the last minute and was like, hey, can you come do the show?
Yeah, it was pretty last minute. The whole thing was pretty last minute, yeah. But I was like, I really wasn't playing much, and like, I don't know. I mean, and especially seeing it the next, the footage the next day, I was like, oh my God, there's so many people.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. It was really like, and it just felt, I didn't say anything stupid. I didn't do anything dumb. I didn't, mouth off to anyone.
That's
and, so I felt really good about it. It was like, I felt, it's hard, it's just being an oddity, and just going out and playing shows. Usually when it's at best, it's polarizing, where half the audience is like, oh my God, like, this is like, why don't I do this? And the other half of the audience is like, this isn't even music, but that Walter show felt so, there was so much love, and that's something, in general, in local music scenes, it can get real mean real quick. And I think there's a lot of, the older I get too, I don't know. I mean, it's weird. And this age in music too, of like how lucky we are to still keep this art form going in this age. Like live guitar-based music it's really a product of the past, and to be able to keep on doing this, and then also to be able to have a community like this is so great. And to see sometimes when bands get kind of catty or bands get weird and like I don't know. I wish I was more supportive. I wish I was out more, but I just think at a time in my life it just became like I can't be at a bar all the time.
No.
And that was another thing about Walters too. Is like it was nice. I would go there and see shows from time to time that I wasn't involved with, but it was nice. It was a nice plug-in right to the whatever is going on in the music industry. Like. There I was opening for it, or locally or regionally or whatever. It was just a really nice, resource to have. And I don't know. Especially the way that Houston music has become so focused on these festivals, which is good, I guess. I mean, but it's a little weird. I mean, some of those like. The Summer Fest, and it's like it's Weezer, and it's like, God, that was a band that was big when I was in high school, and now it's like they're opening for this big music fest, and it shows you the odd state and just kind of almost apocalyptic state of music, where that's the biggest band in the country still, and is Weezer, or that was years ago. I'm sure they're not anymore, but there really hasn't. It's solidified quite a bit. Yeah.
No, you're right about that. Yeah, I know in Emily's interview, Hearts of Animals, she mentioned that she was glad that you were there at the last Walters show, and that it was a really good time.
Yeah.
Sad time. And I definitely should have shot up there. But you said there's footage?
Oh, yeah, I think it's on my Instagram, yeah.
Okay.
My friend took it, my friend James.
Okay, I'll see if I can
I have
down.
I have a project with him. But yeah, it was just a magical, bittersweet, of course, but and I had my thesis the next day, and my thesis defense. I mean, I really didn't get drunk or anything, but it was a late night, and when I got home, too, I was like, I got home at, after midnight, and I'm like, oh my God, I was Jimi Hendrix for a minute. Like, I can't even process this.
It was pretty worth it, huh?
Yeah. I couldn't go to sleep, and then I had to get up, meet here at 10 a.m. the next day. And fortunately, it went much better than my undergrad thesis there. Very happy to be there with me. And but it was really a nice, it was really a good week, just resolving things. And I felt like it was a really good... it was cool. I mean, it was really, because I don't get, asked to do those festivals. I don't, I don't know how I would translate, to be honest, to the arena outdoor state.
Yeah.
I'm not really into that so much, but like I don't get that's I'm really cut off from that that aspect of the community, which has become has gotten to be such a huge. That's all it is now, and I think it's like they've gotten more people engaged in music in Houston, but it's just they're much more focused on these events, So. Which I have nothing to do with. Which
Some of them are quite expensive.
yeah. Which I mean, that's something too. That's not how I consume music at all anymore. Too is that I mean that ended a long time. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like Lollapalooza, like 3 or 4 of those. Just the sun hangover. It was just like the next day. I knew I had to take a day off just to recover from some of those outdoor festivals. That like, and I was a kid.
Yeah, I used to do them when I was young.
Yeah. But I remember, the next day having to be like, I need a day to decompress. Because I mean, one time I was, I think, 1996. I saw. And I can't, I don't have the focus. I mean, I get too invested in something. I can't focus on something else because I'm still thinking about what I just saw. And like that was my last one of those festivals. I saw the Ramones, and I was like, I didn't even know they were there, and like I had no idea I was ever going to see the Ramones, and then I think the Violent Femmes were there too, and they were amazing. And then like. I wanted to leave, and it was Metallica, and I was like, "Fuck Metallica!" They had haircuts, they're sellouts, But
Sure.
see, that's a terrible point of view that I have at times. I saw that; it was amazing. It was like I learned so much. I mean, just about performing. It was just what how it was. I don't know, but it was. I don't understand how people can. There was so much to consume that amount of music. That day, and I don't understand how people can do that. Because to me, it's like, I mean, the show I played the other night, like I thought 4 bands was ridiculous for that amount of time, and like, I think 3 is pushing it, but I think I don't know. I think before the festivals, I kind of liked more. It was more intimate. I think the local bands like. Much closer to the audience all the time. I was also younger, I guess, going out every night to see shows. But at the same time, it was like I was definitely seeing them in very, very small settings, even the national bands. Whereas I can't imagine wanting to see. I mean, I guess seeing Beck at one of those things, that's fine. I've only seen him in big environments or Bjork or whatever, but like. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the newer bands I would not want to see in that environment, like, at all, yeah. But it's a weird state of music. I don't know why it's gotten that way. I guess it must be cheaper just to get all the bands in one place.
Are there any local acts that you follow you want to shout out to?
I want to talk about... Lover Girl, because Justin, that was his band, he died in March. I mean, there are living bands also that I like, but I did a few shows with him over the years, and I really liked him, and he was, he had a hard time fitting in the scene and stuff, but I did one of those matinee shows with him, and it really was cool, and it was probably the last show he did, I think, and so I want to give a shout out to him. There's his sign right there from that show.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, there's a ton of great bands. I wish I got out more. I mean, I really like TV a lot. That's really interesting. I mean, Emily's been always been interesting, evolving. Yeah, there's a ton. I mean, I almost don't want to start naming people.
Don't want to exclude anybody. And there's always more too, you know, man. I mean, there's a huge scene here in this city, and
Yeah.
every time I go to a show, I get turned on to two more bands that
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah. The one that I played with the other night, which I don't know if they'll ever talk to me again. But the swimwear department, they were amazing. I love them. They had I think a bassist, like a keyboardist, and a drummer and a singer. Different setup, really poppy, fun, really fun. So yeah, that's one.
Okay, well, I'll check out all these bands for sure. Have you ever thought about doing a greatest hits?
Yeah, I would really. That would be awesome. Yeah.
I'd like to see. I'd definitely like to see that.
I would. Yeah, if I could find the resources, I would definitely. I'd like to do a vinyl at least for that. But I suppose I could just do it. I guess online too. I mean, that would be another way of doing it. But it would be nice to have a product with that, and it would be. I think at the appropriate time. I mean, this is definitely the twilight of the Wiggins. So I mean, like. This would be the right time to do it. And, and there's some, it's evolved and different eras of the band at this point, that would be awesome. So if I'd really like to see if I can find someone that would put that out, because I think that would be a little bit more appealing in some ways, as far as a product than a new record, Because I definitely notice online, I mean, people, certain records people would go back to now constantly, like every day. Like people are looking for this old stuff too, as much as the new stuff. So,
you have any idea what you would call that? The Wiggins' greatest hits?
Yeah.
Just.
I don't know, because I already use greatest apes, so I would like to call it that. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, because they're not really hits at all. I mean, they may have been charted on a couple college lists locally in the room. It may have charted, but So I don't know.
That would be like a cool title, like a super long title, like the Wiggins local college songs that.
I know one song was really big in Davis, California at one time. And there's like the song that was on How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, yeah.
So there's that stuff.
They had one of your songs on there?
Yeah.
Excellent.
That would be noteworthy. And a couple. I mean, that would just have some kind of cult following. Like Feed the Ghost.
Local cult following college songs. One of which were on How I Met Your Mother, like the title could be really.
That would be a good mastering project too, to get because some of that stuff is really, it was never released properly anyway. I mean, it's MP3. That's all I have of some of that stuff too, is MP3.
Sure.
So.
And have you ever thought about doing an acoustic album?
Yeah, definitely. I could have seen this one go that way easily. Maybe the next one. I mean, especially with that guild. That's not an acoustic, but it's definitely a warmer sound.
Sure.
I think I need to zag as much as possible now. I think it's really, I don't. My fan base is pretty tolerant at this point. I mean, they're going to get me. They like it, and the other people I don't really owe anything to, so it's like I really it would be really cool to do something.
I'd be really curious to hear that, and I'm glad you said yes to those questions, because listening to your catalog over the last couple months, that's something I was thinking, man, I wonder if he'd want to do a greatest hits or an acoustic album, because I was like, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I tried when I was involved with labels to get the greatest apes released on vinyl with bonus tracks, but it's never. I just don't. It was I'm sure if whatever most labels don't deal with me after one release. It's usually a one-time thing. Even if it does well, it's
nothing wrong with that. Yeah,
they have their resources. They need to put their resources to the next artist that they like. So it's really. there is that, and it's not so much of like it didn't sell. It's more of like I could do another album with you, or I could do another album with this person no one's ever heard of, and they're trying to move forward and establish their brand and all that. So that's really cool about Miss Champagne is they let me come back.
Yeah.
So very nice.
You do artwork as well. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, this is it. We've been sitting in front of it. This is my studio. I don't know how the two mix. It's always a little disappointing to people that they don't mix as seamlessly. I think lately I've been wanting to do more music with my work. Like sound elements, music elements to it. I really got, I think artwork was just a way to get out of college for me in the beginning, but then it really became something. I met, when I lived in Cleveland, I didn't know what to do with it. I was really driven for whatever reason. I don't know why, convinced I was an artist. Certainly at that point. And, but really having no luck at it. Even really now. I've done some interesting things, but like it's very hard. But I met this artist in Cleveland. He's a visionary artist, the Reverend Albert Wagner, and he was like, I think he was a big role model because he was just, very cathartic painter. Very much like, and really good work ethic, huge studio practice, everything covered in art, his art, paintings. Very religious base, which for whatever reason my art is, because I'm not a religious person, but I think that was just, I like religious, cosmetology a lot. I really like shrines. I like the importance of it. I like that they transcend paintings. With this work, I try to make statues out of paintings, but I think it's, I think the Wiggins is named after the Shags, the band, the worst band of all time, and they're very much an outsider band. So I think there's always been a huge attraction to outsider stuff, and I think in music it's more accepted because like the greatest rock of the 20th century all came out of folk or blues, which is considered a folk. It's all folk. This untrained kind of self-contained universe. People that didn't even think of themselves as musicians, probably, that were making music, and then how Bob Dylan, the Beatles, all the stuff, they were looking, into the unknown, kind of, and the self-taught. But I think in fine art, it's been a lot harder because when you start to reference, self-taught outsider artists, people automatically come at you kind of like, well, you're not self-taught. But it's weird because as a musician, it's so much of like, the Black Keys were looking at Mississippi Hill country music when they were starting out, very much something that wasn't from their culture, at all, or their immediate culture of Akron, Ohio, even, something very different from them, and something that also, it differed from them in time as well. They were separated by just, decades of when this music was around, but still there's some kind of obsessiveness to it. There's this immediacy to that style of music, and when I look at artists, I see these artists that these visionary artists. There's this immediacy to it. There's spontaneity. There's this drive, almost this sense to it, and it's weird that I think as musicians we're very much allowed to do that. But as artists, and I made it out of here fine, but it did come up at times. Not so much with visiting artists, but in the faculty at times of like, but you're not, this outsider. But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm not saying I am. I'm saying I like. Mm-hmm. I am gonna, the same way that, Eric Clapton, like Robert Johnson. I'm sorry, I just said those two people's names. Sorry.
No,
But,
not at all.
he like that, but he did something very different with it, and like, I don't know. So I think it's like one of those things, and eventually, being here, in this institution, I was able to answer this question that way, and very much in that. That that if music didn't look to the folk arts, to the outsiders, the visionaries, we'd be in a very different environment.
Sure.
I mean, we would garage, orchestras, xylophone. I've seen it.
Wow. Yeah.
But the idea of so as an artist, I've always really looked at stuff outside of the art world, because I think that's what. Picasso and all these, not say them like that, but like a lot of them are always one eye outside of the gallery system, and and I've always kind of been that way too, of really looking for more of a pure expression, something that, but I guess it could at times it could be too close to the source, but. I think you have to do that. You have to mimic what you like at times too. But I also, I do, the religious content. I do take. I was, right after I got done with college. I was a shrine maker. In Cleveland, that was my job every day. Painting eyebrows on Jesus, the gold around his stuff. His robe. Why he needed so much gold for a carpenter that was poor, but like that's we do these things, and I did this assumption of Mary being pulled up to heaven, a giant statue, and I did the eyebrows, eyelashes, and all that, and then I went to the Feast of Assumption, and like seeing people fall down in front of the statue, and like this thing that transcends. I never saw it at a gallery. Even people were blown away by something. It wasn't that connection to it, and so I thought, I don't know. So I've always been attracted to that cosmetology, that aesthetic, and just the idea of manipulating the forces that manipulate us. Too. I mean, the idea of an object that you can somehow, with this object, motivate, not manipulate the universe, and stuff. It's just, I don't know, never-ending fascination to me, and so that's where a lot of my art comes from. Mythology and tableau, various stuff that's connected to manipulating the forces you can't manipulate, and also like accepted insanities in our, like. I've always had issues with growing up, as I think a lot of us do, and when just but it's weird when you grow up and you suddenly, I suddenly realized, I think a lot of people realize this is, there is this, even as grown-ups, there's this accepted make-believe, this accepted insanity in worship and within in churches and stuff like that. You're allowed to believe in this just gibberish, weird, these poems from Asia, the Mideast, that are thousands of years old, that were never meant to affect civilizations, on the other side of the planet thousands of years later, probably don't have the answers that we need, necessarily in this time, yet we still stick to them. And on some levels, I think there are universals that I think can be drawn out of that stuff. But I've always been interested in the accepted insanity of grown-ups, that we are allowed to believe in a dead, resurrected man that sits in a throne in the sky.
And
we're allowed
and much more crazy stuff.
Yeah, I know, and we're totally and this, for some reason, I don't know. There's so much you were denied. You can't believe this. You can't believe that. You can't do this. But then you're allowed to believe this thing.
That's damn interesting, man. Yeah, that's a cool way to look at it.
And I always just been fascinated with that. And I think it mainly, my family was so secular, and which was, I mean, from, talking to friends, which was such a gift from my family, like, but, never anything like you're going to go to hell or anything. I mean, I think my mom did tell me to go to hell, but I deserved it.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Not because of my sins.
Religiously, literally, or anything, yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, and then being exposed to that at a much later age, and then, but once I was really like, I do collect this stuff, I think there's something so important, to our relationship, to the unknown, to the unreal. Even if it is unreal, our relationship to it is for whatever reason, so innate and just so important. And so that's what a lot of this work is about. And that's what a lot of the stuff has been about for a long time. And it's also a lot of it. I mean, lately I've been getting more into, I think, I've really been into the ubiquitousness of superheroes and, in our culture, and how much that has changed, and how that was something so much I wished for, like back in the 80s, like they should make an X-Men movie, and now they did. Now it's everywhere, and now it's affecting every bit of cinema, and now it's like, it's where all the money's at. It's just this horrible thing, and it's just, but also how, I don't know. I mean, I guess at the time, I was getting so sick of doing so much religious stuff. I was into like the idea of my own mythology and my own kind of unreal characters, like superheroes, and how much I like Superman, means to me in my relationship with this fictional character is probably, or Luke Skywalker, for that matter, like that these are, I mean, this is my religion in a lot of ways. I mean, I don't know if I think there's a part of me that fundamentally knows it's a work of fiction, but I think at the same time, my morality, my sense of heroes and stuff like that, it really does come from that, and values in some ways, and also how we all know, the origin of Superman to me is in the same file as the origin of Christ. Like
sure, yeah,
him being driven out of the homeland as a baby, like Krypton. It's just they're so similar, and this need of even going predating Christ to Oedipus Rex. This destiny and stuff like that, and you can't escape it. The preordained things, and it's in fiction. It's in what is all fiction, but I mean, but just how certain ones are accepted as reality, and other ones are just comic books, and
right.
And to me, they all have some kind of this profound meaning, and I don't know what it is, because I'm not into this stuff as much as I'm not into Superman as much as I'm into the idea of Superman and the idea of superheroes. So I have been working on this comic lately, and that was something too. Like a local art writer guy was asking, like, he's like, so much of artists are into this comic book stuff, like, why don't you just do comics?
Comic,
like, well,
yeah,
I was like, I did one, but I was like, yeah, now I have time, and I really wanted to, like, for one, I would love the trajectory of characters as well, like, and because I am making a sequel to that, and like, it ends so sad with the character, and the new one begins with him sad, and he's like, this is another one I did. This is more of a children's story, but that's me in an alternate 1985, living through a nuclear war. It's very Boy and His Dog, based. And I did that in 2014. That was a very therapeutic piece, because I was like, I really couldn't do. I started with this large scale installation, and my back got messed up again. I really had to recover this time. So I was like, just every day getting up, going down in the studio, working on this comic about me. And kind of really trying to make a product. It never really went anywhere, but I think it was a really important thing, because that was around the time after that I thought about going back to grad school. The idea was put into my head by my girlfriend. It was like, and my work ethic was so good at that point from doing that stuff. And but now that I'm done with this, I kind of want to go back to that, and kind of want to, like, because I've gotten just so much to be anti-superhero, I really want to, like, dive into that world a little bit, and I think somehow it just fits the research of all of this, and how I like stories to be told, and the ambiguity of this work in general. I always kind of like that not really of kind of just showing it and not explaining it as much, and because how much of the world, that's how we get exposed to it anyway. You just kind of see this stuff, and I think a lot of it too is like, when I was a kid, I was almost like, and this is weird, being interviewed as a musical act. I was almost deaf for a long part of my life. Yeah, and like so, a lot of I couldn't. That really affected my ability to read, and then so like so much of comics that I couldn't read them, but I could see them, and how much it became this purely visual language, and that I had to make up my own stories. I had to, and the ambiguity of them was the attraction, though, too. I think if I, when I eventually learned how to read and get older, the reading them was sometimes it's a very rewarding. Other times, kind of a letdown from just the images, and I just, I like that whole kind of. I like the artwork to have this, in the middle of things, kind of. I think that's and that's also as a songwriter a big appeal. A song is a self-contained thing. It's always a self-contained thing, and whereas artwork is usually a series, usually very much. It takes a long time to get stuff done at times to evolve, to work through problems. Whereas music has always been a lot more immediate. Because I do remember. When I was in undergrad, having a really bad final review and like being like, oh my God, like that went terrible. And then like going home and being like, I'm just gonna start programming a song. I'm gonna do, because then it just, really, it seems like it's nice to have two bodies of work that are separate. I think in some ways, because there's been times when nothing was happening with art, but music was doing. Well, other times I think it's sometimes too with music that it's nice to be able to play a show that's kind of a dud, and then a week later play another show and have another chance, and then but with art sometimes you can build on a body of work and it's a year's worth of work you're showing. I mean, maybe not every day, of course. You take months off over the time you get distracted. You have to do other things, but then. You show it, and it's like you can't really show it again in the immediate future in this region.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, and then so it's like, oh my God! And then if that doesn't work out, it can be quite devastating. If you don't get whatever reaction you think you're going to get, and sometimes that reaction happens later. Sometimes someone comes up to you, and then it's like, oh, I saw that. And then the night of the opening, you're like, oh my God, nothing's happening. But whereas music is always more immediate, and which can be bad, So they're very different. And I think that, that's been a hard thing. And because I think there's not a lot of musicians or musical. I don't want to call myself a musician because I'm not reading music, or writing music, but like, it seems like I know that it seems like there's a time when it seemed like visual arts and punk and underground music were really connected, whereas now I don't see it as much. And I think that musicians don't have any problem with that. I think that there's a cool crossover with like a lot of people that know my music know that I'm an artist as well, and it's cool. But I think that the arts in Houston are very disconnected with music, and I think they're really supportive of stuff that has nowhere to go, kind of like the noise stuff where you really do need institutions supporting it. But I think they think of more experimental punk or underground stuff as already having a venue. And I'm not saying this is an observation. Is like when I worked at Diverse Works, I was really tight with the directors there, and they knew what I did, and I was like, I want to do a music program, and my boss was like, okay, but you have to explain to me why I'm going to dedicate money from the National Endowment of the Arts to your weird punk shit, and like it took a long time for me to figure out how to answer that question, and there really isn't the venues that you think. You think that something sounds like something that sounded, it doesn't. I think over time things just changed. That there wasn't rock and roll radio anymore. Over time, there wasn't. It just kind of went away. That I could start justifying booking bands at the art gallery, and like, because they're really, like, bands didn't want to, you know this too. I mean, like, it's weird how much, you play guitar, you play whatever instrument, you want to play, and then all of a sudden your life becomes very tied up in liquor sales. And it's like,
Right.
how did that ever come into this at all? And it's like, that was something I really like, as an artist, and that was like that, but it became really important to me to get bands out of that, to get bands into galleries, into our theater, and with Civic TV as well, to get, I mean, it's sad that it has to end. I'm sure it could have done. There's a lot of bands I would have liked to do stuff with, and but it was really like to be able to have an artist out of that context in general. 'Cause it's one thing when it's a place like Walters, it's like your personal, it's like very much your clubhouse almost. But it's another thing when you have to go to these venues or to tour, and you're going bar to bar to bar, and it's like all of a sudden it's like there's this other element in it, and like your art is involved with keeping these bars alive, keeping this culture alive too. But it's like it's just I don't know, it's interesting to see. I want to see what happens with guitar, whatever music that I do and promote, and like what's going to happen to that, the more and more the archetypes of what that is fade. Like the kids aren't growing up with Guns N' Roses and this stuff anymore, this attitude, and like even now, yeah, I mean, even how they would react to me, like I don't know, like yeah, it's a strange, like what I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's a strange. It's just been a strange thing to try to bridge the art world and the musical art world, because music has been so commercial for a very commercial force, and it still is. But at the same time, I think that there is definitely like this a need to kind of experiment a little bit with that format, and I don't think that there is the outlets for that, as there used to be. And that was a very small period of time too. I mean, because like growing up, I mean, I really did hit adolescence at a very good time, because prior to Nirvana and all that stuff, I mean, I didn't know. The first time I played at a nightclub, there were places like that. That there was these rooms with these, PA systems that like, I thought, you were either like playing at home, trying to get a record deal, and then when you got a record deal, you played at theaters, you played at arenas. Right. I had no idea that the music could be presented that way. And it's definitely, I'm sure the way music has changed over the years has hurt that environment quite a bit. But it's interesting to see how institutions in Houston are going to respond to that. And I am trying to do more programming to preserve that. And I am struggling, still thinking of how do I present this as like, I don't want to just say this is a dying thing and say like, this is like, you're preserving jazz, you have to start preserving this now, because this is just as irrelevant as jazz. To say that it's relevant and needs support of institutions or galleries, or a band looking to a gallery for guidance and support rather than a booking agency or a talent buyer, you know. So it's just kind of interesting.
I like that, yeah. That's cool. Your artwork was picked up by the TV show How I Met Your Mother.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know those guys. Like, I grew up with Carter, the co-creator, and I know Craig through Carter now. And so yeah, I mean, they just knew it. They have their resources and with their show, and they have their resources of talent. The people they know throughout the years. So they like once they got full fully unchained.
Yeah.
I mean, they're able to make those decisions, and they were picking up. It was a really weird experience to be like this kind of like cult underground Texas phenomenon at the same time, like working for Fox and like and you just always think of that mainstream stuff as just being evil, but then you start to get into it, and it's like, these people are just as nice, or nicer than
Sure.
some underground, space in Austin or something, really conceited people, and like
Right.
these people, they already made it, they have the money, and they pay you a lot, and it's like, and they don't make any promises. It's like this is it, this is the job, and you may never work for us again, but you get to work for us this time.
Sure.
And I don't know. I guess the relationship was already there, with my friends and stuff, and it was nice to be able to. I mean, I always, I'm very much a TV baby, like latchkey kid, and to me, like a sitcom is a very important art form somehow. In a very bizarre art form, and to be involved in that.
Yeah, people grow up on them for sure, and they're,
Yeah, and also just for my friend to be, and it's a weird, that whole, as an artist to become a character on a primetime show over time, is a really weird thing, and to see like, stories that I lived, and all of a sudden be watching TV one night and be like, oh my, I was with him when that happened. And that's me.
Yeah.
And 4 million people are watching this, and like this is it's weird. And the artwork was, that was really for one, to be the mom's soul, and to be her I'm making her paintings, like, to be her artistic soul. It was really weird, and it was just weird in I don't know. It was strange in the sense that he came to me for that, and it was perfect in some ways, but that I'm part of the mother in a weird way of how I made your mother. And I don't know. It's a it's just kind of strange, but I really liked. Yeah, I mean, it was really cool, especially at the time when I was doing a lot of that stuff. I was so injured, and had nothing going on. I could do that, and it was just kind of a nice, like, I was like more or less bedridden, and to be able to do work that was like not just I was being paid for it, but it was going out, and it was going out into the whole world.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And for me to be in the shape that I was in at that time, I could, easily have slipped into depression. But then it was like, hey, I got Kyle MacLachlan, like working with Kyle MacLachlan, and it was just like, yeah, it was cool, and it was a big, and I'm sure, I'm going to do something with Carter again, and we tried projects that never got off the ground, and one was really cool, and I don't think it'll ever go anywhere, but it was a cartoon that took place in the 90s, and it was kind of a prequel to How I Met Your Mother, and it was about Ted growing up in Shaker Heights, but it was really about us, because everything was autobiographical, but kind of in this, kind of Beavis and Butthead cartoon style. And we actually did make, with a local animator, Eric Kincaid, we did make a trailer for the show, which I actually just found the Notebook. I mean, the extent of work that we did for this thing was just incredible.
Yeah.
For like a 2-minute thing.
Sure.
And we just never had the money, and I know I had to do like meetings, and at this time in my life I was like a janitor, more or less a janitor. I mean, I did other things that were more glamorous, but more or less, I had to keep the toilets clean. Mm-hmm. And I would go, and they were really good about, really supportive of my, other interests, and so they would know I was taking meetings, in the middle of the day with these like Hollywood producers, and it was like trying to get the show off the ground, and it was hard because it was like my friend needed me to be, 110%, but I'm like, you're the television writer. I don't know. I just draw things. And, like, my scripts are terrible, and I don't know what I'm doing. And, like, this animator guy I'm working with, he's not getting paid, and he's getting more and more upset about that, and I would be too. And it was just getting to the point of, like, I can't. Like, I'm not in your world. I'm not in Hollywood. I have paint to buy. I have, like, sheetrock to put up. I really,
Right.
So, but it was a fun experience. Just kind of creating, and it helped me a lot because it was something that I really wanted to be able to tell a story that way and develop characters that way, and I really didn't know how to do that. And I think at the time that was a big. I think now I would be more prepared with that, with making a fictional story, in that type of a show. At that point, but because I tried, because I was so connected with How I Met Your Mother, to like shop around story ideas to them. They're always like, "Yeah, thanks for that." I don't think people are gonna get that, but
That's funny.
it was cool. I mean, it was just cool to have access to that. It was weird. I mean, especially how underground most of my career has been, and then to be so mainstream at the same time, it was really. Really cool, and I really it's also cool just to see a friend have helming something, like two friends really, and helming something like that, and they came out of the Letterman show, and that was weird too, because at that point they were doing the mailbag, and like they would use my name, they'd use my friends' names all the time, and I didn't always watch the Letterman show, but I remember they used my name for a story, for a mailbag one time.
That's funny, dude. Yeah.
People I hadn't talked to in years were calling me up and like, "What are you doing with your life that you were writing David Letterman?" And I was like, "Is that bad of a thing to do?" First of all, and secondly, I was like, "I'm not writing David Letterman." Like, they're just using my name.
Right. Yeah.
But it was fun, and. I don't know, but it's a really strange part of my artistic practice. That was, and I hope they get another show again, because I did read one of their scripts, and it was the show didn't get picked up, but it was amazing. It was like Mad Men meets 30 Rock, but it was like about a sitcom in the 80s, behind the scenes. It was amazing, and like I was blown away, and I was really hoping that would take off, because I wanted to do. Remember those '80s paintings of the woman with the hair? The cover of Rio. Her name is Rio, the Duran Duran record. Okay, well,
No.
you'd know it if you saw it. This is like really '80s, quintessential '80s art of this like really weird, pale woman, a really pretty woman with like her hair all gelled up, and I wanted to do like 80s art in the background for these sets and stuff, so I really wanted it to happen, just to see if I can get work making fictional artwork. Well,
that's a nice story about, like you said, you had you were bedridden, down on your back, but you got to be a part of something like that.
It was really cool. I mean, it was really like it was perfect timing for me, because I was really depressed, and to be able to, not only get money, which is always my number one goal, but also to just be involved with something like that, and also like the elephant painting I did for the other episode. Like, I still make those, and people find me, and they.
I'll be danged. Yeah.
Yeah, I made one like 2 months ago, and I didn't. I was like, it had just been a while, and someone wrote me, and I was like, shit, I'm going to give you a hookup. I was like, I'm going to give this real cheap. And just to make one again, but it's really cool. And I was doing freelance work for a play at a high school, like doing like graffiti, and they wanted me to give a talk about graffiti, and for whatever reason, when I was laid up, I was watching a lot about. I was really interested in New York, about I think I was interested in nostalgia, like the nostalgia for the shitty New York, and like people were getting nostalgic about it.
Right.
And a friend of mine told me about a documentary 80 blocks from Tiffany's, which is all about the Bronx in the 70s and how crazy it was. And so I really started getting into the birth of the taming of that area. And it wasn't just gentrification, it was also like the gangs were so isolated over time, it's like they couldn't even date, because it was like they knew everyone on their block. Mm-hmm. And so eventually it had to give, and music had a lot to do with that, and hip hop, and visual art, and this new art form, with graffiti, and like, so they wanted me to give a talk on it, and I was like, this is actually something, I'm not a graffiti artist, but I do know a lot about this, and like, but I wanted to connect with the students, I do, like, I'm definitely into like Basquiat and Keith Haring and this whole 80s scene that came out, in 70s, 80s New York art. And I was giving this talk, and these kids, they're not bored, they're actually really attentive, and and then I'm going down the slides, and I go to the How I Met Your Mother elephant painting, and before I say a word, they start cheering and they freak out. Uh-huh. And I was like, what is happening? Like, how do they even know about this show? It was canceled. I did this talk like 6 months ago, and like, the show was, I don't even know when it ended, like 2015 maybe.
Yeah.
And so it'd been years, and these kids are young, and like, I mean, they were like, the second they saw the elephant painting, like, that's the elephant painting. And I couldn't, all they wanted to talk about was that. And then we went to the set, and I wanted to talk about the graffiti, and they were like, no, Jason Segel. What's Jason Segel like? And like, they're just like, they were so into this. And it was like, it's weird, because it's like, I'm very, I want goals to be met, I want things to be satisfied in a certain way, but it is weird, you're always told, things don't come that way all the time. You don't know the impact you have sometimes, when you do it, and like, to see those kids react to it in that way, and like, to know what it was just on the image, and to know how, like, just happy it made them that I was there, educating them, and it was really weird, and it was a very different. It was just a different level of success that, I'm so used to, like, numbers, money, people, units moved, this, that, like, grants given, scholarships, this, that, and for success just to be, these kids smiling,
it's a really cool reaction.
Yeah.
And just.
Yeah. And that, and even that people knew what this was, and, it was really, it was just really cool, and just to see how happy it made them, and like, it was really different, and it's a weird, very strange trajectory over time.
No, it's a nice story, dude. It's a good story, for real. I was scrolling through your Facebook today, and I like the bowling robots.
Yeah, that's the mother painting.
Is it? Is it one from the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. And I haven't done that many of those. I did one for my dad. Because he likes robots, and he likes The Big Lebowski. He loves that painting, of course. So I made one for him that Christmas. And then the set, someone involved with How I Met Your Mother had me make one. And that's it, though. I really haven't. The elephant one, though, at least, I don't know, over the years, how many of those I've made. 'Cause I'm really bad about numbering stuff, cataloging stuff.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So, like, eventually, like, those are gonna, there's probably 10, at least 10 in existence. But then other people would have me make ones in the style of a different animal. So I just make up shit. And I tried selling them, because it was like, I think in Berlin, there was like a How I Met Your Mother themed bar. And I hit them up, and I'm like, hey, I'm the guy. I'll make tons of this shit, like, and Carter and Craig, they don't care what I do with this stuff.
Sure.
Like, and so, but they never wrote me back. I was really surprised. I was wanting to milk them, for whatever I could. Yeah. And but people, fans of the show, and over the years, I'm trying to be, more, I'm trying to bring the price down, because it's getting easier for me to make them, and also at the same time, it's like, I don't know what this is, as far, is this an art object? Is this a print? Is this, is this a prop? Is this, like, what is this? But it's an interesting phenomena. It's a weird thing. And again, and television is a very It's certainly growing up a big part of my life. So, and especially even with Carter, I think that was as friends. I think media, film was like how we connected. We were in bands together too. It was like, as kids, it was like we had very similar tastes, and like he was writing plays. When he was in high school.
You knew that's what he'd be doing, huh?
Yeah, and I didn't even know him. He was all really on the down low about this stuff. He was like, "Yeah, I'm going away to Australia for a playwriting contest I won." I'm like, what? And he wrote this this play that's something like between a Samuel Beckett and Terry Gilliam thing. I'm like, what the?
There's always you always learn something about a really close friend that you would have never guessed. Like during high school, that they kept to themselves the whole time. Yeah.
He was getting flown around the world, and as a playwright, and of course that's the guy. It makes sense that he ends up writing television. So, but hopefully they'll have something more permanent going soon. Another, just thing like How I Met Your Mother. I think they want to get on cable. I'm not, I don't want to speak for them, but I think that's. I remember him talking a lot about that, going a different venue, a different route from. Because he was telling me 10 years ago, probably he was like, that 30-minute television is dead. Television's dead. Network television, it's over. And
sure.
So it's weird though that he was like really. That was one of the last shows that was like this. There's a few of them in that list, but the last of that style, like where 30 minutes once a week.
Right.
That was something that was so. And it was weird, when he wrote the 80s one. I remember one of the things talking to him about was like how much the experience of television is so non-communal now. Like, I've never seen Game of Thrones. Like, I probably would like it, but like I don't have that channel, and now I probably could get it with streaming, but at the same time, I don't want to get hooked on something that's 10 episodes, 10 seasons.
You don't have that kind of time either.
Yeah, I don't want to I don't want to get into that. So it's like I just prefer not to watch it at this point because I only have so many more years left. And I really
we live in a day and age where there's so much damn good television.
Yeah,
and I'm scared to look at any of it because I know I'd like it.
Yeah. No, it's really
everybody's like, you gotta watch this show. You'd love it, and it's like I know that's why I don't want to watch it.
Yeah,
I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, I need to So, but it was weird reading about a sitcom and then like that they these guys are probably the last people that are ever going to be doing that type of thing. And
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that commercial television is really.
That was the thing for all of our lives and way before, sitcom TV. Do you come from a musical family or background?
No, I mean they're fans, big time, but no, they don't play. I think that was the hardest thing because my friends were all getting into rock, and I was like, I really wanted to play guitar, but it was like we had one guitar, and me and my brother broke it like accidentally, and my mom got really mad, never got it fixed. She couldn't play it anyway. I got a keyboard, but it was mainly for sampling. And then you just say something in the SK1, and like we never learned how to play it, and so it was really difficult. And my dad, I don't know if they played anything growing up, anything. My brother didn't, but they liked music a lot.
Sure.
I mean, like my mom was like she'd go to shows when she was a teenager, like in Boston, and like she saw everyone, and my dad saw a lot of people too, and like they were big fans, but not. No playing, none. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know what a chord was when at all. How music was put together, what a bass, anything.
But it sounds like your folks were always listening, though, huh? Always enjoying music.
Yeah, I knew what. Yeah. But once it came time to like constructing something, it was like really, it was pretty cool because I was like really coming from nothing.
Right. But what are some of the hobbies you get into besides music and art? Or subjects, or just stuff,
Yeah, subjects, I don't know. I got a lot. I mean, I'm into It takes up a lot of time, I think. Lately I've been trying to read more comics. I've been reading the Creature Commandos. But yeah, I mean, not much else. I mean, movies definitely, and that's something that's, yeah, I went out last night. I go to the movies a lot. I mean, it has been bad lately, but I mean, that's definitely, yeah, movies for sure. Yeah, I think collecting movies too is a big thing. But not so much books. I mean, my family, they're really into reading and stuff, but like, I just like making art and doing music takes up so much of the time. Yeah. And I think sometimes it can be pretty leisurely making art and doing that, which is nice, which I get. I see where people like to sit and read a book. I can sit and draw on a sketch pad, and I think I get to that same space, you know, but I can't. I really, like, as far as doing other hobbies, like, I mean, I like bowling and playing pool, but I don't do it enough. You know? Cool. So, but mainly yoga, really into that. But that's pretty new.
That's awesome. That's plenty of stuff.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, for sure.
And my girlfriend's a really good cook, and so like she likes to go out to you know restaurants and stuff like that. So I get into dining a bit. Yeah. No, I wish I would go to more shows. I do kind of miss that. But when I heard
we all do, yeah.
It got really hard. And yeah, it just got really hard and playing out, and I just couldn't do it as much. And that was so much of my life. I mean, in the late, in the early 2000s. I mean, especially even before I moved down here, it was just like the underground music scene. That was it. That's all I cared about, and stuff. But it just got to the point of just you just can't do this. I mean, like, 'cause I started like 1993. I think it was like the first time I started playing out like professionally, and like it's what year?
You devoted a lot of your life to the local music scene and bands and yeah.
I think now I'm happiest with music is as a recording artist. That's where it's at. I do like playing out though, but it just can't be what it was. It just cannot. It cannot.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's just cannot.
And it's still fun,
Yeah.
Madness on Main is tonight.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't even have time to read Jeremy Hart's breakdown on Space City Rock and check out who's playing and stuff. I knew two of the bands that were playing, and I'm afraid I would have to look into it. And anyways, I worked for like 2 weeks straight. I was sick for a while. My computer crashed. It's just like I can't do it, man. I'm like behind. I got to go home and take care of some shit, So I hate to say that, but there's so many bands all the time, man. It's great, But I can't.
No, yeah.
Can't go see them all.
Yeah, no, and then you're a musician and you have to dedicate the time to your practice and then just listening to music that's not, just I don't know. It's really, it's hard. Yeah, it's really to manage that, and
it's hard, and it takes a lot of time to follow your local rock and roll scene,
And also just to realize at times it's like, especially God. There's been times in my life looking back, like I was like a workaholic, and I had a full-time job that was really hard in the arts. Then I'd go home and make drawings and made music. Booked music, promoted music, and like I remember being on vacation like up in Maine and like walking around, the harbor, Portland, Maine, and then like I have to deal with something in Houston at a bar right now. A show I have next week. I have to go deal with something, and that was what I did. I cut vacations short to go play shows. It was everything. Everything revolved around that, and it's just, and I don't think it was like time, poorly spent, because I think it's like. The organization and just being an organizer, and being able to do that is a really good skill. But like, I just can't care about music, and just it is I don't know. It's a strange thing. I just can't care about it forever. It needs to evolve. Yeah, at a certain point, I can't. I couldn't be at that level of engagement forever.
Gotcha.
It's just I needed a life, outside that had nothing to do with that, and or this at times. You know, it's really important to have
Yeah.
that. And it was really hard, especially getting done with this program. I was working, I mean, so much before I got into this program, and then it was just like, I need to do nothing. And then, like, for a couple of weeks, it was such a challenge to, like, I mean, I was playing guitar, but I wanted to, like, just play guitar and work on technique, work on no songs, nothing, whatever, just play guitar just for the joy of it. And it was so hard, it took a week to do that. And then now I have to get back into this stuff a little bit. But it was like, for the month of May, it was so hard to actively not do anything. Yeah, so.
No, I still find that crazy.
Yeah.
You were graduating as you were putting out this last EP.
Yeah, it was too much, way too much.
Okay. Other than starting a garage orchestra band, what's coming up next for the Wiggins?
I'm working on I got new material. I'm working on, once I get done with the show at Cactus next week, I'll dig into the
Saturday
studio.
the 16th.
Yeah, Saturday the 16th.
At 1 p.m.?
1 p.m. at
Okay.
Cactus, yeah. So once, sorry, hold on. Yeah, once I get that, I can get dug into that recording more. And I already have some new stuff. 'Cause it was good to not finish everything, and because it's the one thing with full-length records too, you have a tendency to kind of blow everything at once, like, and then you don't have anything. Everything you've been working on is out, and like, so it's kind of cool to be like, give myself a deadline, and whatever was done at that deadline, that's what it is. And then everything after that, now I still have like 3 or 4 unfinished songs that I can now finish, so it's kind of cool. And so yeah, I'm gonna get back to that. I'm already getting back to that and
Excellent.
programming. So
Heck yeah.
I don't know what's gonna come of that. I don't know. I mean, I could still keep on putting out cassettes, that's cool, but I don't know. I don't know what's happening exactly with. I think maybe, I think more of just pure digital or financing vinyl of somehow. People really seem to buy that. I think, but cassettes are cool for people to have something, but most people are like, do you have a code with that, and all that. And also the stuff's online anyway. Why not just put it online? But I think I remember Jessica was saying that maybe CDs will come back in style. So maybe a CD, because that
Sure.
could be fun.
Yeah.
Packaging wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks a lot for.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
That's awesome, man. Appreciate that. And the Feed the Ghosts.
Yeah, that's a limited edition. I don't know how many of those we did. That
Thanks
those
so
are
much,
all
man.
hand painted. I actually ordered that from someone. I didn't say it was a limited edition, and it was.
That's
so.
awesome. And you can find the Wiggins music on
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, and you got the Facebook as well.
Yeah, and I think there's there's one song on SoundCloud which I need to
SoundCloud.
keep on putting that out. I
Very
need
cool.
to put that out because that is something I do need to stay more current because I think that there are other venues that I'm not using as well. So
I'm a big fan of Bandcamper. That's my
yeah,
favorite.
me too.
You know?
But I like it as an artist, but as a listener, I don't use it enough. Like I every now and then, my friend's band, they'll put their link up, and I'll just I'll just keep on looking at it, at it.
And your entire catalog, like 7 albums,
Yeah.
$10.50,
Yep.
download on Bandcamp. I did that a couple months ago, and I want to say you put it on sale for like $1.40
Yeah,
or something.
it was a sale. I think it was an anniversary sale or something like that. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm getting that,
Yeah.
man. And yeah, that's crazy. I made 2 CDs. I don't know how many albums I fit on them. And I had it in my truck for like the past 2 or 3 months up until this interview. And I was like, that's so perfect, man. I've just been listening to your
cool.
music. I was like, this interview was definitely meant to be.
Cool. Yeah, no, I don't know how many songs that comes out to, but yeah, I know it adds up, and I think that was part of the appeal of being solo too, just being able to add it up, make it work. Just keep on building catalog. Um, yeah, because that's kind of fun, and that's something too that's definitely once I retire will always kind of be there, and yeah, it's cool to just have that people be able to access that because someone. It's just someone goes down a rabbit hole, at some point, and they find you, and it's kind of neat. And
Right.
I think it's a neat. It's weird. I mean, watching how music has changed because I think it's like it's the digital age and internet age. It's like it gets so cluttered. It gets but at the same time, it's like someone like me, and someone like a lot of local artists, we're really able to exist in a way that we couldn't have, 20 or 30 years ago.
Right.
We have to physically send stuff out to everyone, and to be able to go and play in Germany without any kind of representation, just emailing, some underground club in Germany, and you hit it off with this promoter, and it's just like, and you get to play somewhere, and it's like it's so neat, but at the same time, it's a double-edged thing. It gets so cluttered, and
Right.
it's just like, how do I stand out from someone else? I mean, and it's hard. It's hard to expect people to have the attention span, to have the interest in some email they get with a link on it. It's really and like, you can only even aesthetics. You can only do so much, and then it's like, I am who I am. At this point, it's like I can only, I'm not. I can only sell myself as a band, as a performer so much, and it's just like, it's hard, but at the same time, it's like I am, I'm able to find out about, Miss Champagne over the internet. I'm able to, actually, correspond. We're able to do stuff. It's just, I send her music, and, this, that. She's able to promote stuff. All
It's a
these
good
labels
thing.
are able to be intertwined without even knowing each other, really. And it's really amazing, and it's kind of cool, and it's a double-edged, it's not a golden age or anything like that, but it's definitely like once we lost one thing, I think we gained five things, and like, yes, we lose isolation, which is important, but at the same time, it's really cool to be able to have someone order something from Germany or from, Spain or some country I've never heard of, and like to be able to be in contact with those people, it's really neat. And I remember when my brother, when he was all into hardcore and his friends had put out tapes in the 80s, like he and I were going to record stores in Berkeley, California, or San Francisco, like trying to get them to listen to this tape or to buy it, or just end up leaving the tape there, which is probably the way it would be now, you know. But at the time, there's no way they could hear this thing, and it was just kind of amazing now with being able to put out a record, and having the world have access to it. It's just really, I don't know.
I like it. I think it's a good thing. There's a ocean of bands and self-recorded people out there, but as long as you do you and put your stuff out there and have fun.
It is weird when it mixes with. It's a weird thing because there is this predetermined. You're not predetermined, but there's expectations of you as an artist, as a band, to do certain things. Like, you start playing, you build an audience, you build a bigger audience, you go on tour, and it's like, and that could be really, really harmful, I think, to an artist. I mean, just seeing young bands that like got critical acclaim when they were really young, and how that affects them because it solidifies them. Like Chris, like, this is when people like them, so this is what people like, so of course they're going to try to continue on that route, but then you have, at the same time, it's like, maybe if they weren't discovered at that age, it would have been better for them because they would have not stayed in that realm. They would have gone into a different realm, and like, I think that, endurance is a cool thing, and being by myself, being able to stay around so long, I'm able to constantly kind of like, so many things have not worked at this point. No one has any expectations for what I'm going to do. It's kind of neat. And I think that, it's weird to see artists get, solidified so young and so early. And but it is weird at the same time, never really getting that that biopic story as a musician of like rise to fame, where it's been like more of like, I don't know, it's just been like ups and way down to way up, way, you know, it's just like, it's a really weird, yeah, it's a strange, I think that needs to change a little bit. I mean, just as recording artists, like our trajectory is not going to be the same. It's never, not everyone's going to have the same rise or rise at all, and that doesn't mean it's not worth doing. At the same time, it's like, and to build an incredible body of work is you know, or you know, any body of work is a feat unto itself, and that whole band culture, touring music culture is a very different thing sometimes from just writing music or creating music, and it's a strange thing when those mix, you know, and I mean, at times when, you know, like the Wiggins was really this commodity for a split second and is being referred to in articles in a weird way, and you know, and also to get, yeah, I mean, I remember getting a review for my last record, and the reviewer was mad that I didn't do more with my career, and it was like, you don't know me at all, like my career, like I'm actually sitting in my office, you know, right now at this nonprofit. This is my career, and I've managed not to get fired for 10 years. So this is really hard, you know. Like that's my career. I was like, this is like, I don't. It was like when I was like, also he was like, you know, bringing up the fact that like, you know, I missed my opportunity, and I was like, wait, I had an opportunity? Like it didn't feel like
Jeez Louise,
it felt,
man.
you know, and it's weird that these expectations get put on you, you know, and it's really like, I really just want to entertain, you know, like 20 or 30 people on a good night and just have that connection, and to really like lose myself for a second, you know, and that's really what I want. And like, and but then you get this expectation, people like, you know, especially when it does start to happen, but then it's like, I don't know how to capitalize on that. I don't know. And it's really hard, and no one knows the right way to do it. And when you have a good selling record, and then it's like, well, wait, I don't know how to do that again. I don't know how that happened. And no one does. None of us know why that worked. And
but it's great that it did.
Yeah. And just like, and I remember that with that getting, I think the song on How I Met Your Mother, it was like I was friends with this DJ guy, and he was like, maybe that'll lead to something. And I was like, no, I just got this huge check. Like, I was like, it did lead to something. Yep. And like, and he's like, well, yeah, but you know, I mean, something else. I was like, I don't know what that is. And I don't know what, if I would know if I was there when it did happen, you know, and it was just a weird kind of conversation. I was like, when do you make it? Because I'm just happy that like, this is, you know, this is, you know, this happened, you know, I mean, and it was just, I was able to do something with my art that way, and like, but that stereotypical career of like going on the road and groupies and, you know, and all this, you know, getting bigger and bigger and Pitchfork and all this. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's a really hard trajectory, and it's a really hard, the timing of how everything has to line up, you know, it's amazing that people do, you know, get through. It really is amazing. I think for that. So too, yeah. That long, and then also what's remembered and what isn't is that's really hard, you know, to predict, you know, and I mean, because I remember bands that were so huge, you know, like growing up, and they really disappeared in that scene, you know, that I kind of started in, and they kind of disappear really quick, you know, and I don't know, so. Yeah, sorry.
No,
I don't remember the question.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's crazy out there for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Thanks a bunch for
thank you
sitting
so
down
much, yeah.
and talking about your music and your art.